The desolate alien planet of Xerok was a place where most species would prefer to avoid, let alone call home. Its scarred surface was a landscape of jagged rocks, acid rainstorms, and a constantly changing, unstable atmosphere. The native creatures had long ago adapted to the harsh environment, but even they knew better than to approach the strange creature left behind in the barren wasteland. It had once been a creature of awe, a pet for one of the most powerful galactic empires, the Icor. Their technology had allowed them to subdue and tame even the most dangerous life forms. The alien species had brought the creature, a majestic beast with shimmering scales and massive wings, to their planet as a symbol of prestige. The Icor cared little for the creature, using it as an ornament, a status symbol that was more decoration than companion. But things had changed. The Icor Empire fell into ruin, and the once mighty species found themselves scrambling to maintain their power. Their luxurious lifestyle faltered, and in a cold act of practicality, they abandoned everything that was no longer useful. The once feared pet, a creature known as the Sci-Fi, was among the casualties. Cast adrift in the toxic atmosphere, the Sci-Fi's wings were tattered and its body bruised from the fall. It had been left to die, forgotten by its masters and ignored by every other species that roamed the galaxy. The only remaining hope was that it could somehow find its way back to the stars, to the remnants of the empire that had once held dominion over everything. But as time passed, the Sci-Fi began to lose hope. It could feel the weight of its own mortality creeping up on it. The winds of Xerok howled, and the storms that ravaged the planet only grew fiercer. With each passing day, it grew weaker, its once proud form now reduced to an emaciated shell of its former self. The other species of the galaxy knew better than to care. They had learned to avoid the Sci-Fi's kind, with their savage temperaments and insatiable hunger. Many considered them a danger, and those who might have offered help had long since abandoned the idea. The Icor's reputation as conquerors and slavers made them enemies to every other species in the galaxy, and as a result, no one would dare risk their lives to help one of their discarded pets. Except for one species, the humans. On the far reaches of space, a small human colony ship drifted toward Xerok, unaware of the planet's dark reputation. The crew had been traveling from one outpost to another, conducting routine exploration, when they received a distress signal, oddly encoded and emanating from deep within the planet's surface. The ship's captain, Commander Lucas Hargrave, frowned as he examined the data. The signal was unmistakable, an SOS in a format that was familiar, though he couldn't quite place it. His first instinct was to ignore it, to continue on their way to their next assignment, but something about the signal tugged at him. It was faint, but there was something undeniably urgent about it. Set a course for the coordinates, he ordered, standing from his chair with determination in his voice. There's something we need to investigate. The crew looked at one another with hesitation, but said nothing. Human explorers were known for their curiosity and stubbornness, even when it bordered on recklessness. It was that very trait that had gotten them into more trouble than they cared to count, but also the trait that had saved the day countless times. As the ship descended into Xerok's atmosphere, the view outside the window was bleak and unforgiving. Jagged mountains loomed and thick clouds of corrosive gases filled the sky. The scanners indicated no signs of life, and yet the distress signal persisted. It was coming from a canyon, deep within the planet's surface. "Prepare to land," Commander Hargrave said, his voice tight with resolve. The ship touched down with a soft thud, its landing gear absorbing the shock of the rough terrain. The air outside was thick, heavy with the fumes of the planet's volatile environment, and the temperature was far lower than anything the crew had experienced. However, Hargrave had no intention of turning back. The signal was a cry for help, and he was not the type of man to leave anyone behind. The team donned their protective suits and ventured out into the alien wasteland. The winds howled around them, and the storm clouds above seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The team moved quickly, following the trail of the signal deeper into the canyon. What they found was not what they expected. The creature was lying motionless beneath a jagged cliffside, its scales dulled by the ravages of time and neglect. Its once glorious wings were tattered and torn, and its breathing was slow and labored. The Sci-Fi, though weakened, was still alive. Hargrave and his team approached cautiously, knowing that the creature could be dangerous. But as they got closer, they saw the pain in its eyes, eyes that seemed to plead for help. It was not the fierce predator they had been warned about, but a dying animal, abandoned and forgotten by its creators. "Is it alive?" one of the crew members asked, his voice soft with disbelief. Hargrave knelt beside the creature, his heart aching at the sight. The Xephar's wings fluttered weakly, and a low growl emanated from its throat. But the growl was not one of aggression, it was the sound of desperation. "We can't leave it here," Hargrave said firmly, turning to his crew. "We need to help it. It's a living being, and we don't leave anyone behind." The crew hesitated for a moment, but one by one, they agreed. Using their medical kits and a combination of advanced technology, they managed to stabilize the creature long enough to transport it back to the ship. The journey back was slow, and the Xephar's condition continued to deteriorate. But with the resources and expertise of the human crew, they managed to stabilize the creature once again. After days of care, the Sci-Fi began to recover. When they finally arrived at a nearby space station, the crew of the Savior received more than their fair share of stares. No one had ever seen a creature like the Sci-Fi before, and there was skepticism about their decision to save it. Yet Hargrave's conviction remained unshaken. It wasn't about the creature's origins or the politics of the galaxy. It was about life, and the humans had proven once again that they would fight for it, no matter the odds. As the Sci-Fi fully regained its strength, its eyes met Hargrave's in a silent gesture of gratitude. It had been abandoned by every other species, but the humans had chosen to save it. In that moment, the creature understood something that no other species could comprehend. There was no greater strength in the galaxy than the heart of humanity. And that was why they would never be underestimated again.